In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.
I'm Sonya Dunn, and you're listening to The Sonya Dunn Show. We have with us today Mark Ruppert, who is the producer, director, and the creator of 48 Hours Film Project. Thank you for being on the show today, Mark.
Hey, Sonya. So glad to be here.
You have started something that has enveloped into something that's international. You started here locally in the D.C. area with 48 Hour Film Project. And now it's over 150 cities around the world. And now it's an international organization. How did you come up with this concept?
Well, the 48 Hour Film Project began way back in 2001. And as you said, it was right here in D.C. I had read an article about two women who had started one of the first 24-hour play competitions. And I thought that was such a cool concept, and that it maybe it'd be even cooler in videos. So I came up with, why don't we try it in video? And I think we'll need more time. So instead of the 24-hour, I set it at 48, and that's basically how we got started.
Now, have you always been in the media industry?
Well, for a long while now. I grew up in Washington, and as a kid, I would make movies with my parents' Super 8 movie cameras, so they were silent films.
I remember those days.
Oh, yes, exactly. And then I found myself in law school and went through that whole thing. But at the end of law school, I wasn't interested in practicing the law, so I had a couple of other jobs that really called upon my management skills. And while I was doing that, I started taking film classes, since that had been a passion from my youth, and eventually opened a small production company. And it was while doing that I had this idea, hey, I wonder if it's possible to make a film in 48 hours. And then I reached out to a handful of filmmaking friends, and we all got together one weekend to give it a try.
So was starting your own production company your first official media job, or did you have another full-time media job before that?
No, I would consider that the first. I had a couple of friends. You may know Jeff Krulik, who's a local filmmaker who's had a lot of success with documentaries. So he was a friend of mine, and so I began working with him while I was searching my own clients, and did a number of business promotionals. And another fellow in town, Mark Zuckerman, had a studio called Bedrock Productions, so when he needed editing help, I would give him a hand. And so either working with those two guys or bringing in my own business, that's how I made the ends meet.
Now, that's a different Mark Zuckerman, right?
He's another D.C. native, went to Wilson High School.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So, as the creator of the 48 Hour film project, how difficult was it to get it up and running into an actual organization?
Well, the first years, it was basically, we grew slowly.
Okay.
The first year, we just held 2 competitions in 2001 in D.C., and that was more of a, hey, let's do something fun. It wasn't a business at that point.
Okay.
The following year, we took it on the road. We were in 6 total cities, and at this point, I partnered with Liz Langston, who was D.C.-based at the time, and she and I ran it as a part-time job, basically. And that continued for several years as we grew more and more cities. I think our first international foray was in 2005 when we went to London, and it just continued to grow. And as it grew, then it went from being a part-time job to a full-time job. And in 2010, I want to say, we added a couple of staff people, and basically that's taken it to where we are today, where about 5,000 teams around the world participate each year. Last year, we were officially in 120 cities.
Wow.
And what's gratifying about it is how much fun the filmmakers have doing it. They just love the challenge, and it's amazing to see what they're able to come up with.
I've actually participated in one back in 2012.
All right.
As far as here in the D.C. area with a team, so it was a really eye-opening experience being a part of that. So it's something that if anyone who is a creative, I recommend that they do it. It really, as far as puts the whole process on hyperspeed, so that you can create something amazing. So.
It is impressive, isn't it? Well, congratulations for being part of it, but it really supercharges your creativity.
It does.
There's no time to second guess yourself. You keep going, and it's great to see, especially when you get to the theater and see your film up on the screen. It's a lot of fun.
It is. It really is. As far as, is this now the only thing that you do? Is this what you realize is your passion, and this is what you're meant to do?
Exactly, and it takes all my time. So if I wished I could do something else, there's not a whole lot of hours left in the day, but it is fun. What happened for me is that I transitioned from being a filmmaker myself to basically now being an event manager. It's through our office, the 48 headquarters, that we're able to produce all of these events around the world. We work with a local city producer in each of our cities, and he or she is the one who's on the ground and implementing all of the pieces of it. As you know, since you've participated, there are a number of events related to the project in each city. The first couple of events are meet and greets and networking events in advance of the competition weekend. And then when the weekend rolls around, of course, you have your Friday night kickoff event. And it's here that the teams find out exactly what kind of movie they have to make, because they pull a genre out of a hat. Oh,
yes. And then the juices just start flowing. I know.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you remember which genre you had?
We had horror.
Okay.
Yeah, we had horror. It was interesting. As far as we had a team of 15. So the director and the producer put together a team of 15 people, and it was a really interesting time to work. Mark, we're going to have to take a quick break, but when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you are doing as far as in the process of transitioning from filmmaker to media event planner when we get back.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to The Sonya Dunn Show. We'll be right back.
DC Radio, where you can hear district creatives with Sevi Charisse.
One of the conversations that we have on the show is how to monetize your creative gifts and abilities.
Hearing the Council with Josh Gibson.
You'll learn about policy, learn about people, learn about history, and learn about the institution.
Wit and Reason with Dr. Alexis Moreno.
It seems like there's still a lot of confusion and misunderstanding surrounding the concept of love, so let's break it down.
Rating the Crates with John Avery.
You're raiding the crates on DC Radio, and we're just getting started. So let's kick this party into high gear.
And Rememories for Seniors with Elliot Michael Gold.
The people we love and admire and who set the beat and the music of our lives.
DC Radio, 96.3 and DCRadio.gov. In DC, for DC.
We are back. You're listening to The Sonya Dunn Show. Of course, I'm Sonya Dunn. And our guest is Mark Ruppert, who is the creator, director, producer, and event manager for the 48-hour film project. Mark, we were talking about transitioning from actually producing content to helping others produce content in a different type of way. It's very unique what you do. And my first question to you is, do you miss making films?
Absolutely. I'm always scheming to try to figure out how I can get back in it. And it's tricky because you can imagine being in 120 cities around the world. It's pretty much nonstop. Our tour actually runs from March through middle of November. So just about every weekend during that time period, there is at least one city, and some weekends we're in 8 or 9 cities.
Right.
And then between November and March, we're preparing 2 things. One is Filmapalooza, which is our big awards festival, where we announce the grand champion. And then, of course, we're preparing for next year's tour. So there's very little, if any, downtime to pursue the filmmaking. But one of the things that, what I try to do is brainstorm other ways to help our filmmakers do even more. And I also live vicariously through our other filmmakers. We've got a guy in Cleveland, Conrad Farage is his name, and he's got his start in 48-hour films. And now he's made several features, indie features of his own. And this last year, as part of that new movie, 1917, they had a special promotion where people could submit short films all shot in a single take. And Conrad won that entire competition.
Get out of
and
here.
got flown out to L.A. to attend the premiere and got to meet Sam Mendes, the director. And so I kind of live vicariously through the exciting accomplishments of the 48-hour filmmakers.
Yeah. Wow. So you're kind of like the godfather of short films. Would you say that?
Well, I take that as a big compliment. Certainly the 48 Hours has given a lot of inspiration to a lot of people over the years, and it's a real mix of people who participate. It's people who love to do it and come back year after year, and they are strictly hobbyists. That is all they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
And there are other people who have used it as a springboard, much like Conrad, to go on to a career within the industry. So, we're grateful for all of those people who like to participate. And I'm just amazed year after year. I expect that one of these years is going to be, I've seen it all. But no, the creativity that people have, it's always surprising.
My question, Mark, is you have transitioned from filmmaker, you say event planner, but you're actually a CEO. You're CEO over an international organization that has a deep footprint globally. How did you learn how to manage the business side of the creative process?
Well, certainly my background with a law degree didn't hurt, especially when it comes to contracts and knowing that you need to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, whether that's your liability insurance or your getting the proper bookkeeper, accountant, all of there are certain requirements, no matter what kind of business you're running. So that background helped. Also, my family, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandparents on both sides started their own companies, and so that's also in my background. Then, once you jump in, I guess, in some ways, it was good that it started as a part-time job and went into a full-time job because that gave me more time to grow. I wasn't immediately overwhelmed by all of the responsibilities of the business, but could add them organically as the company grew. And I guess it's really just a combination of all of these things.
If you could share with an aspiring filmmaker, because from my experience, a lot of filmmakers are focused on the creativity, and they sometimes forget to dot the I's and cross the T's on the business side of the creative.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any advice you would give to a aspiring filmmaker in regards to understanding both processes?
That's a great question, Sonya. Well, one thing we always have to remember is that filmmaking is one of the most collaborative arts that exists, right?
Yes, it is.
So it is very, very rare that somebody is doing filmmaking on his or her own. So find a good collaborator. Perhaps your strength is the creative side. Well, do you know someone who loves filmmaking but has a strength on the business side of things? So that could very easily be one way to do it. The other thing I would suggest is just like you take time out to do a class, whether it's online or in person, about filmmaking, there are plenty of classes out there and opportunities to learn about the producing side. So just like you're investing in the creativity, invest in the business part of the process.
That's good. That's good. When you were starting this company, did you have any hiccups along the way where you knew that you maybe needed to take a step back and take a class or reevaluate some things with this?
When we were fortunate enough, and again, I think it's because of the slow growth, we didn't really experience any huge hiccup. Certainly, there are always challenges along the way.
Right.
And that's where not being afraid to reach out and ask for help. I don't know that I've got any great example, but small examples. You know, here we are, an international event with events, live events in different parts of the world. Well, we need insurance. So it was calling a half a dozen different insurers to finally get the right person who could answer my questions and really took the time to understand what it was we were doing,
right.
That then could get us the policy that could work. So a very small example. But the same thing with our entertainment attorney. I have a legal background, but my specialty is not entertainment law. So fortunately for me, one of my fellow classmates from the University of Maryland School of Law is out in L.A. and has his own entertainment law firm. And so he became my go-to person when something would crop up that I didn't know or understand.
That's good to know. We got to take another break, Mark.
All righty.
But when we come back, I want to talk about some of the new stuff that you guys are doing over at 48-Hour Film Project when we get back. I'm Sonya Dunn. You're listening to The Sonya Dunn Show. Stay right here with us.
What if you could turn on the radio in Washington, D.C. and be in the know, in the flow, and up to date on all that makes the district great? Get ready for DC Radio on 96.3 HD4, where the city comes alive. We'll be playing music featuring DC area artists, all the interviews with people who make a difference in the district, entertainment, news, local artists, your connection to everything Washington, D.C. From Washington, D.C. and for Washington, D.C. All the majesty, diversity, vibrancy, and culture of D.C. on the air 24/7, 365. Our people, from our monuments to our neighborhoods, all 8 wards. We'll be highlighting what the mayor is doing and what's going on in city council. We'll be reaching out to seniors and the youth. That's what D.C. is all about. From D.C. From D.C. For D.C. For D.C. DC Radio 96.3 HD4, Washington.
We are back with our guest, Mark Ruppert, who is the producer, director, and creator of the 48-Hour Film Project. You're listening to the Sonya Dunn Show, of course, and I'm Sonya Dunn. Mark, we were talking about the business side of everything that you've developed with the 48-Hour Film Project. And it has evolved from just weekend, as far as people getting together on the weekend and shooting a film, as you said, from a hobby standpoint, to now something that is recognized as an international organization within the film industry itself. Did you ever think that you were going to do something like this on this scale?
Not in my wildest dreams did I think that first time we were here in D.C. doing it, that it would lead to something like this. It's been an impressive ride.
Yeah.
The very first screening, I don't know if you remember the old Visions Cinema, which was at Connecticut and Florida. That's where we held our very first screening. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of work, of course, but a lot of fun to see it grow year after year after year. I remember one year, I think it was around 2010, where we grew from 30 cities to 55 in a single year, and that almost did us in, because that was almost doubled the amount of cities.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do it without this network of city producers, and so we are always looking to add new cities, or if the city producer has to move on, we recruit a new city producer, and we're looking for somebody in a city who has some knowledge of the film and arts community and some experience doing events, and then we train them and provide all the instructions and the manual of how to run a successful 48-hour film project, and they become a partner, and that model has worked well for us.
Now, you have over 150 cities around the world who do the 48-Hour Film Project. Are you stating right now that you're open to more, if possible?
Yes, we're always looking to add some more. We don't add on the order of 20 or 30 in a year, but we do like to bring on 5 or 10 each year. I mean, that's one of the... We hate saying no to people, I guess, is what I'm saying. We'd love to provide this opportunity to as many filmmakers as possible. And in fact, we do have a special competition in the fall of each year called the 4 Points Film Project, and this is our online version. So the regular 48, you have to go to one of our cities, and you must attend the kickoff event, and you must submit your film in person. But for the 4 Points, that's for filmmakers who aren't in one of our cities or who want to have a second challenge, and they get their requirements online, and they submit their film by uploading. So there is a way for people who aren't near a 48-hour city to participate.
And that's something that you started recently within the past couple of years, right?
Well, we started a while ago. It was had a different name originally. It was called the National Film Challenge. And then we had international teams want to participate, so then we changed the name, yeah.
And then you have a new competition that's called the Feature Script Competition, which you just added, correct?
Exactly. We started that this past year, and the idea here is we have so many talented filmmakers, and we had not been doing anything special for our writers. And since most of our filmmakers do have a goal of producing a feature film, we said, why not try a writing competition focused on a feature script? And we are planning to bring this back this spring. And basically how this one works is you must submit a treatment of 3 or 4 pages, which is your basic idea of your film, and then 5 to 10 sample pages of a script. We then review all of those submissions, and we had 75 our first year, and we pick 15 or so finalists. And those finalists are required to give us a 30-page version of the final script. And at that point, we choose our 3 or 4 finalists, and they have 100 days to complete a script. So the first year was really great. We had some amazing scripts. The winner came from a writer in Portugal, and his story was a kind of a a challenge, this between two people in graduate school who are tasked with solving this unsolvable problem.
Wow.
If you remember that old movie about John Nash, the mathematician, it's
Yes.
something along those lines, and we were quite impressed.
Yeah, I think there was another one with Gwyneth Paltrow about, I think it's called Doubt or something like that. That's kind of sounds similar to that one too.
Rings
So,
a bell, yeah.
Yeah. Since you mentioned Portugal, let's move on to Filmpalooza, because Filmpalooza was first a U.S. type of platform for all of your highlights of the short films that were produced around the different cities. But 2018-19, you went international, first in France, and now you're going to Netherlands in March.
That's right. So this is a 5-day festival where we screen every city-winning film. So we have 130 films that are going to screen. We have 12 workshops. We have receptions. The opening reception is at the City Hall in Rotterdam, where we have parties other nights, and then it all closes, of course, with our great awards ceremony. And here we not only award the prize for the best 48-hour film of the year, but we have all of the other great prizes like Best Directing, Best Writing, and it's just a great celebration of creativity and films, and people who go just have a great time.
Mark, we're running out of time. Before I go and I let you go, I just want to give you an opportunity to share with everyone the reason why they should probably come on over and participate in one of these projects, even if they aren't looking to be a director or a producer or a writer, just to participate.
Okay, well, I would say one of the big reasons is they're so inspirational. You will be amazed at what you and your team can do in just 2 days, so that it's really a great jolt to your creativity and that sense of accomplishment. That's number one. Number two, for every team that can complete a film in a weekend, we actually show them on the big screen at one of your local theaters. So you can see your work in front of an audience on the screen, and that is it's such a fantastic experience.
Yes.
And worth doing it just for that. And then finally is the fun. I can't tell you how many people I hear from each year that say that was such a blast. That was my best weekend of my year. And that's just makes us keep wanting to do what we do.
Mark, you're welcome back anytime.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, Sonya. It was a lot of fun speaking with you.
Same here. We'll be right back to wrap up. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Sonya Dunn Show.
In DC, for DC, DC Radio, 96.3 HD4, and DCRadio.gov.